What's going on, everyone? Real Red Politics here. Welcome back to another video on my channel. Today we're going to be discussing the midterm election race for the Pennsylvania Senate seat that is currently going on and is currently being contested by John Fetterman, who is a radical on the left, who's a radical Democrat, and then we have Dr. Mehmet Oz, who is running as the Republican candidate. And after last night's debate, I didn't watch a lot of it. From the little bit that I did watch, I could tell that Oz clearly won the debate, especially considering the amount of gaffes that John Fetterman had. And I think with John Fetterman's health and whatnot, he is not fit to be a senator in the United States Senate. I mean, not being able to really make coherent sentences and stuff, and struggling with that, I think is going to be a huge issue. And I think it's going to impact his ability to make decisions. And whereas if you have someone coherent like Oz in the Senate, he has the ability to make clearer decisions, and decisions that are able to really make sense to the public, and he can give a clear explanation to the public or to his constituents as to why the decisions he made were made. And so, following the debate that occurred between the two candidates, if we want to kind of look at polling, we could see where back in July, kind of where Oz and Fetterman were at in terms of polling. 538 had Fetterman up 4.4 percentage points, so a little under 5. And when we're kind of taking a look as we got into August, kind of through October, dropped in polling. And then as we got closer and closer up to the debate, we can tell that Oz is gaining. And Oz being the much better candidate, much better choice, and with it being a red wave year, I believe Oz has a much better chance to win, and I wouldn't be surprised if the polling or if the results have him winning between 1 and 3 points. If we want to take a look at, this is all before the debate, we can see where the percentage points in terms of polling was at, where we have YouGov, who had a somewhat large sample size. They had Fetterman up by about 2 points. There was the Insider Advantage, who had it 46 to 46. There was SSRS, who had it 51 to 45. So CNN usually has a little bit more of has more bigger polling error, and generally their polling is pretty off. And I think when we were taking all of that into consideration, and then if we want to kind of take a look real quick at the governor's race for the state, but if we kind of look at where Josh Shapiro and Mastriano are, I do predict Mastriano is going to win his race against Josh Shapiro. Josh Shapiro is an unpopular candidate. He is not a good candidate. Mastriano is a way better candidate and is, far better than Josh Shapiro. But I think with it'll be Oz carrying Mastriano over the line in terms of over the finish line. I think Oz is going to help Mastriano win the governor's seat, or the governor is going to win. And if we kind of take a look back here, and we kind of take a look at what voting results were like in 2018 between Lou Barletta, who was the Republican candidate, and Bob Casey Jr., the Democrat candidate, we can see there was a margin of about 600,000-ish votes, which is a pretty big, which is a pretty sizable margin. I mean, that had Bob Casey Jr. up over 10 points, almost 13 points. But if you kind of take a look at the trends now, we can see how unpopular the president of the United States is. As I had talked about in the previous video, watch that video. I will leave a card in the top right-hand corner. Be sure to go check that out. And I explain why I think Florida is going to be a safe Republican state for Ron DeSantis versus a likely. I talked about why it's going to be in the safe margin, or why I believe it's going to be in the safe margin. And so when taking everything into account, we take the issues into inflation. We take the issues into crime, how Philadelphia and Pittsburgh have an increase in crime, and it's continuing to increase under Democratic leadership. We take all of these things into account, and we can see that people want to change. I mean, similar in New York, where crime is a big issue, and people don't like crime. And generally speaking, if you're not tough on crime, if you don't prosecute the people that you need to prosecute, or that people want you to prosecute, that need to be prosecuted for their crimes, people aren't going to favor you. And we can see that's happening in Pennsylvania and places like New York, and places like Oregon, where Christine Drazan is up in the polls and is favored to win right now. That's a video I'm going to do later. I'm going to discuss Oregon and why I think Christine Drazan is going to win the governorship there, especially considering she's been maintaining a pretty consistent lead throughout, the past couple months or so. And just like I said, taking everything into account, it makes more sense that Oz, let's say Mastriano doesn't win. Let's say in the off chance he doesn't win. I still think Oz is going to win because, one, people recognize that Oz is the better candidate. He does have Trump's endorsement, which does help him, and it helps him win the primary. It's helping him within this election cycle. We can see Donald Trump has a very strong base, has a very strong backing behind from his supporters. And I think with a lot of that strong backing, I think it's going to really help Oz, and ultimately I think it's going to help Doug Mastriano. And considering like high gas prices, your high crime rates, the price of food is skyrocketed, where the United States is in a recession, all that kind of stuff, and when you have a candidate like John Fetterman, who's further left than Bernie Sanders, it makes people think like, okay, we don't want these high prices anymore. We don't want gas to be $5, $6, $7 a gallon. We want, our gas to be $2, $3, some places over $1, that kind of stuff. We want food to be lower. We want to be able to actually, buy meals. We want to be able to buy food consistently. We want to be able to buy gas consistently. You don't want to have to spend a lot of money on these things, that kind of stuff. People are going to look, okay, Democrats increase prices. Republicans generally lower them. People tend to want to pay less for things. But people don't want to pay zero for things, which is a good thing, but they want to pay less. They don't want to pay more. So with that in mind, candidates like Oz, Mastriano, that kind of stuff, where these topics and where these issues are important to voters. And we can, you can look, one of the most important issues that is facing voters is inflation and crime. Those are the two probably biggest issues that are facing voters today. And Republicans have always done better between those two in terms of getting people to vote for them to solve those issues. But generally speaking, when there's a Republican in office, prices are lower, taxes are lower, gas is lower, and generally speaking, crime is lower. And so, when you're taking all that into consideration, it makes sense as to why Dr. Oz is going to win, especially in a state like Pennsylvania, where crime has increased significantly, where inflation has impacted the state, that kind of stuff. And so, with all that in mind, I think in the end, in the state of Pennsylvania, for the Senate race, I believe that Dr. Oz is going to win the state, is going to win a Senate seat between 2 and 3 points, because I want to have a little bit of a wider margin. But I'm going to say within 1 to 3 points. If he gets a little less than 1 point, but he still wins, I'm not going to be surprised. But I think it'll be within the tilt to lean margin. It's not going to be quite likely, but it's going to be within that tilt. So that's what I had to discuss today, and thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe. It would mean a lot. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below, what you agreed with, what you disagreed with, and stay tuned for more political content coming your guys' way. I will be sure to get that video on Oregon out here in the next couple days. And I also want to discuss the state of New York as well. Those are two states I really wanted to discuss because those are very interesting races. Those are going to be very close races, and I think it's going to be a lot closer than it has been in recent years. And I think that the states even have a possible chance of flipping to the Republicans. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I stay tuned for more political content coming your guys' way.